Hello there, fellow Dazzlers and new players alike. Razzle taking you back through the gates of time. Take a look at another arcade game. This time we're looking at SNK's Monster Mashing Beast Busters game, which is allegedly one of Michael Jackson's favorite arcade games. Fun fact, if I remember correctly, he actually had a copy of this game, actual cabinet of this game, on one of his private jets. So how is that? Michael Jackson being a fan of arcade games, if you will. So anyways, the premise is simple. You take the role of one of three adventurers going into a city full of monsters, zombies, mutants, and all kinds of things, and of course, you're trying to figure out the mystery the only way you can by blowing everything up. It's a side-scrolling, or not side-scrolling, but it is a rail shooter type game. It's kind of in a similar vein of other games like Space Gun, Operation Wolf, Thunderbolt, that kind of game where you get the screen kind of slowly scrolling and you just blast away at things as they pop up on screen. As you can see, this is kind of a bit of a bloody game here. Not quite House of the Dead status, but enemies you fire on kind of get shredded into meaty, bloody chunks. And it seems like we're working with, I guess you could call it House of the Dead style zombies, in that they're able to do things like operate machinery, hold weapons, and even use guns, which I don't even think House of the Dead zombies, well, creatures technically, but I don't think they even used guns. And of course, you have your typical lineup. You've got your zombies, you've got your zombie dogs, and then you have weird-looking creatures. At one point, you're fighting a mad scientist. So, how is the game itself? This is what I would call blast 'em up mindless action, I guess you could say. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Far from it. I know some people are going to be like, well, it's a video game, Razzle. It's supposed to be mindless. Yeah, but there's a difference, I feel like, in how Beast Busters is versus something like House of the Dead. This is a game where you kind of just hold down the trigger and you blow everything away. Whereas House of the Dead, it's kind of like, it's more like, I feel like you have to be more careful with your shots in HOTD, and I feel like there's a little bit more, well, let me just say it's more feasible that you can get through House of the Dead without taking damage than a game like Beast Busters, where it feels like you're just swarms and swaths of enemies will descend upon you. And it doesn't help that you have to reload as well, which I think you also have to do in some couple other games like Operation Wolf. And it might not seem like a big deal, but coming from games like Carnival, that quick split second that the gun and reloads a new magazine is a split second that you're going to take damage from something. Speaking of force damage, that's something I feel like with this game that I also feel like kind of puts it in that, kind of just that blast them up, mindless action category, in that it's probably possible to get through this game without taking any damage. I know I've seen people getting through bosses without taking damage, but for me, it gets to a point where I just kind of stop trying, if that makes sense. I'm not really going to not die, or I'm not going to try to make myself not die. I'm just going to, okay, let's just blow these guys up and see what happens. I mean, there are games like that, like Space Gun, which we'll definitely get to some other time. But with Beast Busters, I feel like it just gets so oppressive with the huge amount of enemies that you encounter on screen that you just kind of like, well, alright, I'll do my best. I mean, I get it. You can have up to 3 players, which is really cool for a live game, mind you. You don't get that a lot. So it's probably a way to encourage more players to jump in. But if you are doing it solo, prepare for a rough time. So let's answer the question. Should you play Beast Busters? Well, if you like the theme, definitely give it a shot. If you've got friends to play with, definitely. I can see this as being a nice game to play with a bunch of friends where you're just gunning down bad guys, or if you just want to shoot something. Like, that's what I kind of mean by mindless action. It's kind of just a good game to plug in and you just rattle off bullets at bad guys, Like, you're not sitting there trying to, I gotta headshot the zombies, and then I gotta hit the boss in his weak spot, and all this stuff, and time all this crap. It's just like, nah, give me that machine gun, just brrrr. So, I can see the appeal with that there. Although, personally, I did mention Space Gun earlier. I like Space Gun a little bit more, but we'll get to that later. And thank you very much for watching, and also a quick update. I do have social media up and running again. I'm trying to do that. I got a Blue Sky, I have a Twitter, and I also have that hip young thing all the kids are doing, the TikTok and all that nonsense. I'll have the links down in the description below. I do try to post somewhat regularly, so yes. Also, real quick, update. So, PPS. We did cover games with anthropomorphic animal characters, or as I like to call them, furry games, before on this channel. If you are a returning Dazzler and you are wondering if we're ever going to cover anything like that, or maybe Clace's third game, Komarembe, or even the Major Minor Revision, hold on to your butts, because we are going to get around to that. It's just, I am indecisive, and it's hard for me to pick things to talk about on here. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much. And remember that MacArthur Park is melting in the dark, because we still can't decide on what we want to sign off to be on this channel.